Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the show. You're listening to Open Mic here on WJR. We have talked about college football, one of the biggest surprise stories in the entire college football world, not just in the Big Ten, but Indiana's rise to prominence. We've also talked about the young up-and-comer Emmett Finney, the star forward for the Detroit Red Wings, and how he has helped the resurgence with Todd McClellan and that Red Wings team as they get set for their next home game coming up on Thursday against the Anaheim Ducks. And now we switch to high school football. The MHSAA playoffs are underway. And one of the surprise outcomes, I think, of this postseason has to be the district final between Macomb Dakota and Romeo. It's always been a great MAC-Red rivalry, but it was completely one-sided on Friday night as Romeo rolled to a 56-0 victory to advance to the regional finals. Sportscaster contributor Giovanni Moceri, he's our host of Drive to the Game. He is also a 2020 graduate of Dakota High School. He was there, and he offered this game summary.
My name is Giovanni Moceri. Just got back from the district championship between the Romeo Bulldogs and the Dakota Cougars, and it was 56-0. All Romeo all night long. It was an absolute stunner, at least to me. When you ask the players, though, they have a different story. Afterwards, towards the post game, I was able to get a few interviews, not only with some of the players, but the coach as well. I'll go over that after a quick game recap. So the game started off where it was a defensive, I was about to say struggle, but both defenses were playing very strong in the first couple of possessions, keeping things to about a first down and then a punt, if not a 3-and-out in those first few possessions. But towards the end of the first quarter, that's when Romeo got on the board to make it 7-0 going into the second quarter. But Dakota's offense was really struggling from the jump, didn't really get to wake up the same way that Romeo's offense did once they started to break through that Dakota defense. But once it started going for Romeo, it was unstoppable. 14-0 would be the score midway through the second quarter, and like you saw in my halftime report, it was just an absolute avalanche afterwards on that. Passing touchdown, 21-0. Then it was a punt return to bring it to the one that was punched in, 28-0. Pick six. 35-0. It came so fast that I was trying to upload the video that you guys saw on my Instagram that once I recorded the first one, then another one happened. And by the time I actually ended up posting it, it was about halftime where it was 42-0. Romeo was just all over them. And I credit that not only to, I would say the atmosphere. I loved the atmosphere. That was part of it, as well as this Romeo team holding Dakota in such high regard in terms of wanting to beat them badly, because over the previous few years, that's really been the theme where Dakota was laying the smackdown on Romeo. This was finally the year that they were able to get their revenge, beating them twice for the first time in a single season in a very long time. It was something that meant a lot to this senior class as well as the rest of the team to be able to do that to Dakota. We'll get more into the players' thoughts afterwards, but just to kind of continue with the game recap here, the game flow. After it was 42-0, there really was nothing Dakota was able to do. Interceptions aplenty, turnovers and mistakes. The things that really cost them the game the first time around when they played on October 3rd or 4th this regular season, and they just were not able to get things done and leave scoreless in the playoffs in the district final. And then once I was able to get a conversation in, not only with Coach Reines, but also with Joey Kako, a senior captain who was injured in week 5, but was still there on the sideline supporting his team. I was able to get a word with him as well as quarterback Sammy Nepa. So going through, I had to take notes the old school way because my phone went 0% right after halftime just because it was starting to get cold out there. So I had to do my interviews and take notes by hand the old-fashioned way. So the biggest message that I got when I was talking to Joey Kako was the team chemistry this year was really what made the difference for them. After their playoff loss against Eisenhower in last year's playoffs in the district semifinals, the opening round, the day after, they had a team-led weight session, and And that really got the ball rolling for the team to really bond and really get that chemistry going that served them well and paid dividends throughout the regular season and now into the playoffs here. So that was a huge piece to it as well. And Coach Rhinus is one that pays very close attention to the individual player, able to connect with them on and off the field and really instilling that belief that they can do whatever they set their mind to. The team really took note and really bought in to what Coach Rhinus was selling, and it was something that really permeated throughout the whole team. And you can really see it on the field. And in addition to that, when I first ran into Mr. Kako, I was just kind of looking at the score, and it was maybe 35-0 at this point, and I was just kind of shocked, and he was not shocked at all. He told me that this is how they do business. We do things differently up here, is what he told me of what the Romeo Bulldogs do. This was no shock. This result, 56-0, was no shock to them, even though it was a shock to those in the media, myself included. And then when I got a chance after the trophy raising and all the ceremonies were had, I got a chance to talk to Coach Rhinus about the team this year, and he was talking about the team leadership, the senior leadership that they have on this team. A lot of seniors on this squad as well. Everyone just playing together and just kind of going back to what Kako was saying about the team chemistry. Coach reflected that as well. And trying to get a little snippet as to what their matchup might look like against Rochester Adams. And it was something where, it was the typical, not thinking about it too much right now. They're in the moment. They're raising the trophy. But it will be a chance for Romeo to get revenge over Rochester Adams, who defeated them early in the regular season as part of their 0-2 start to that season. Remember, as dominant as Romeo has been, especially in conference play, they started 0-2. Rochester Adams, one of the teams responsible for that, so they get a chance in the regional final to get revenge on that. And finally, when it comes to the rivalry between Romeo and Dakota, I asked Coach Rhinus about that, and from what I heard, that the Romeo and Dakota rivalry is a little bit more intense than the other ones in the MAC Red. And he smirked at me and just said, I think every team would say that about every other team in the MAC Red. That's just how competitive the conference usually is, whether it's Ike and Dakota, Romeo and Ike. You get every combination of MAC Red teams. All of them will say that whoever they're playing is their biggest rival. That's what Coach Ryan has told me. And from seeing a lot of MAC Red play in my time, going to have to agree with the head coach on that one. And finally, my survey through the Romeo Bulldogs team, getting my notebook handwritten interviews. I talked to quarterback Sammy Nepa, number 2 for the Bulldogs, about all those kind of similar things. And he had a really interesting take as to how their team has really come together this season to accomplish what they have so far. And he pointed out to me that Romeo doesn't necessarily have a ton of recruited players on their team. If anybody, it's their kicker, who was perfect tonight after all those touchdowns, made every extra point. Other than that, the team did not really have any offered players, and that really kind of gave them more of a blue-collar mentality. And he told me that they were fueled by, quote, the power of friendship, believe it or not. And that was something that really brought the team together. I asked him about how does it feel to beat Dakota, especially in this fashion, and it's something that really does mean a lot to this team because of all the losses they've suffered at the hands of the Cougars in previous seasons. To be able to do it twice in pretty dominant fashion in both times was something that meant a lot to this team. And he also reflected their chance of getting revenge against Rochester Adams coming up next week. That'll be on the road for them, as they'll be playing at Adams High School this coming Friday. So overall, to put a bow on this game here, your district finals, your district champions in the Romeo Bulldogs. The Bulldogs pulled out the buzzsaw for this one. The atmosphere was incredible. Packed student sections, as students flooding and rushing the field afterwards as well to share in that celebration of a district championship trophy. The way Romeo does things is, I would agree with Joey Kako that they do things differently up there. And it's not just a football team, it's many of their other athletic programs that are very successful, and they just do things differently up there in Romeo. So as a Dakota grad, I tip my cap to the Bulldogs, a successful district championship had, and they're not done yet, as they will face Rochester Adams, who defeated Stony Creek. In the meantime, they'll be facing them on Friday, and we'll get some coverage for that as well here for Sportscaster.com.
Our thanks to Giovanni Moceri as he gets warmed up as the temperatures have turned. It is the first Division I district championship for Romeo going back to 2020. So best of luck to them in the next round against Rochester Adams in the regional final. 2025 MHSAA Michigan High School Football Finals are scheduled for November 30th. Of course, talking about 11-man football. That'll be held November 29th and the 30th at Ford Field in Detroit. And then the 8-man championship will be contested on November the 22nd. So always a good time. I've had an opportunity over the years to call some of those high school football finals, but I know, how big of a kick it is for all the players at all levels, all divisions, to have that opportunity to step onto the field where the Lions do their business and play for state championships. So with the playoffs underway, we'll continue to follow it here on Sportscaster throughout the postseason as it culminates in the championships, which will be played at Ford Field that final weekend in November. I do want to thank all of our guests who we had on today. Cooper Schoenberg from Indiana University, living the life as a college senior at IU, as Kurt Signetti has turned that program around. Again, their highest ranking in program history, number 2. They have risen in the college football rankings as they have their eyes set on a Big Ten championship and potentially a national championship once we get to the CFP. Also want to thank Noah Shamami, our newest Sportscaster contributor from Full Sail University, for his commentary on the young Red Wings forward Emmett Finney, and also to Giovanni Moceri, who braved the conditions. As we know, playoff football here in the state of Michigan at the high school level, it can get a little breezy out there at night as we get a little bit deeper into November as we target the state championships coming up at the end of the month. So thank all of our guests for being on here this week. And of course, we always appreciate you tuning in. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned a little something about the aforementioned topics. And as always, we will see you every Wednesday night here on WJR for Open Mic. I'm Johnny Kane. We will see you next time. Until then, Godspeed.